last time we saw him, Pedro Martinez was pitching for the world champion Red Sox in the Fall Classic. After 7 years in Boston, the free agent signed with the Mets. He was brought into the Big Apple as a big piece of their puzzle in 2005. Pedro starts today against the Cardinals' Mark Mulder. The lefty has won each of his last 5 starts. New York has been unkind, though, to Mulder. Those are in his American League days. He's in the National League. It's Pedro Mulder next from Shea. Shea Stadium in New York City. A gorgeous day for baseball. Game 2 of this 3-game set between the Cardinals and the Mets. While pitching at Yankee Stadium, Mark Mulder was 1-4. Today, it's at Shea. His opponent, one of the all-time greats, right-hander Pedro Martinez, a record of 4-1 for the Metropolitans. With Al Hrabosky, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. A great afternoon in store for you. As we saw great baseball yesterday, 2 hours and 10 minutes. We're expecting a great pitching pairing here this afternoon. And when you think about Pedro Martinez here in New York, just like in Boston, every 5th day, it was an event, a special event to see him pitch. And the fans, there's a buzz here at Shea Stadium every time he takes to the mound.
Well, there's a buzz. You know, he's one of these power pitchers. He leads the National League in strikeouts. He's very good at walking very few, and he's you know, he's a very charismatic kind of guy. The fans get behind him. He's developed a wonderful relationship with Carlos Beltran, and they usually do something together.
Let's take a look at the Ford Key matchup. Career numbers of these two pitchers. Mark Mulder, this will be his 158th start of his career, well above the 500 mark. And look at the numbers for Pedro Martinez. 43 complete games and a couple of Cy Young Award in the American League. Mark Mulder, how do we know when he's on his game?
Well, I think what you see is that everything is inside, outside, very few things down the middle, but everything is tilting down. He's 6'6", he throws on a downward plane, and if they do hit the ball, he doesn't strike out people like Pedro Martinez, but if they hit the ball, they hit it down into the ground. Cardinal good defense means ground ball outs. Talking with the Cardinal hitters prior to the game, one of the keys against Pedro, get the pitch count up and try to get him out of the game. Yeah, that's one of the things. Is you know, he's really a 6-7 inning type pitcher, but he's very good. This ball just explodes. Terrific movement and good control, but he has a little nasty streak. When he's on the mound, he takes charge out there, and he doesn't want anybody to feel comfortable. Should be a lot of fun. Pedro Martinez and Mark Mulder, the pitching pairing for this afternoon's game number 2 from Shea Stadium in New York. When we come back, we're going to take you back to 1983 with that man, Jose Oquendo. Some fun is coming up. A look at Tony La Russa's lineup this afternoon. The leadoff man is David Eckstein. This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. He'll be followed by Nunez. He'll play third base today. Then Pujols is back in there, along with Edmonds, Mabry, Grudzielanek, Sotoguchi, Einar Diaz, and Mark Mulder on the mound. The Southwest Airlines starting lineup for St. Louis. And on the mound, wearing that familiar number 45, Pedro Martinez. And it's a strike at the knees at 110 here on the East Coast to David Eckstein. These two saw each other a bunch in the American League. Eckstein into center. Beltran over to get it. He is so smooth out there, and that's out number 1. Take a look at the numbers for Pedro Martinez. Brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, a record of 4-1. And he's working on a couple of days rest, and that will be a familiar theme with Pedro this year. Now you see the 8 runs allowed in the first inning, but once he settles in, he just throws up zeros. Opponents are only batting 145. That's best in the major leagues. Lefties 188, and right-handers just a paltry 102.
And here's Abraham Nunez, the switch hitter. And the first pitch is fouled back. This afternoon's broadcast is on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 177 countries worldwide, and of course aboard ships at sea. And this is popped up on the infield. Jose Reyes will take it. A look at the defense behind Pedro this afternoon. Former Cardinal Miguel Cairo is at first base. Around the horn we go. It's brought to you by Auto Tire. Floyd, Beltran, and Cameron in the outfield. Wright, Reyes, Matsui, and Cairo on the infield. And Juan Castro is behind the plate.
We got a great game for you. Great competitors. Matchups of superstars like Pujols and Martinez. But first, we need to really thank all the armed forces, the men and women serving around the world, and thank you for your service.
1-0 pitch to Albert Pujols. They're seeing a treat today with Pedro Martinez on the mound. A superstar like Albert Pujols. Mark Mulder going for the Cardinals. Great pitching matchup here at Shea Stadium in New York. And it's 3-0. Of course, our men and women, the armed services, are serving in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, Japan, even Antarctica. We thank them for all that they have done and do. Right down the middle, and a strike to Albert Pujols. A count of 3 balls and 1 strike.
Pedro walks about 1.5 batters per 9 innings, so he's going to throw strikes.
Electric atmosphere here at Shea. These fans already into it with a full count on Pujols. Hit hard to third. David Wright is there. Cardinals go 1-2-3. Mets coming up here at Shea. First inning, no score. Lead it off for the Mets, the Southwest Airlines starting lineup. Reyes, Cairo, Beltran here in the first. The cleanup man Floyd, the hero last night for New York. Cameron, Wright, Castro, Matsui, and then Pedro Martinez. The 6'6", 215-pound left-hander, 27-year-old Mark Mulder, the starter for the Cardinals. His numbers brought to you by Rico. This is his first career appearance against the Mets.
Nice 5-game winning streak for Mulder. And remember, when he gets 4 runs, his career mark is 69-5. But you would think that 4 runs would be a tall task for the Cardinal offense today.
1-0 pitch to Reyes, a little low. Reyes hitting .252, 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. Just trying to stay healthy is the key for him in 2005. An electrifying player with great speed. That's in there at the knees for a strike. Last season he had a severe hamstring tear. In spring training that cost him the first 2.5 months of the season. So what he did, he worked with Mackie Shilstone to strengthen the hamstrings, and he's been fine so far in 2005, and it's a leadoff hit for the Mets. Let's go around the horn. The defense for the Cards. It's brought to you by Auto Tire. Taguchi in left today, and then Edmonds back in there in center. Mabry in right. Nunez X9, Grudzielanek and Pujols on the infield. Einar Diaz gets the start this afternoon. Gorgeous day for baseball here in New York. And here's the former Cardinal, Miguel Cairo, a guest of Joel's on the pregame show.
Had a long talk with Miguel. Last year playing with the Yankees, this time across town with the Mets.
Cairo thought he would be with the Yankees coming into this season. They went after Tony Womack, so Cairo just moved across town to the Mets. Some talk that he might be in St. Louis. That didn't happen when the Cardinals were looking for a second baseman. Eventually went with Mark Grudzielanek.
Kind of guy that's always welcome back, though.
Cheating in is Nunez at third base, and a check on Reyes, who was gunned down in the first inning by Yadier Molina last night.
Diaz catching. We'll see if the Mets want to try to exploit him. They have 19 steals and 30 attempts on the season, and Reyes leads the pack with 7.
Willie Randolph trying to be more aggressive with this team in 2005 as opposed to Art Howe, and some boos for Mark Mulder as he's thrown over to first. Boo, they're saying here at Shea. Won't be the first time, won't be the last time we hear some boos today.
Good and bad.
Yep. Wait till Kaz Matsui steps in. Cairo, as we saw in St. Louis, a very good bunter, whether it be to bunt for a hit or sacrifice.
The situation, you try to bunt for the base hit, you get the sacrifice if you're not successful.
Right.
And you would think that the Mets would love to jump out with a lead. Pedro settle in.
Carlos Beltran is on deck, and his numbers when Martinez is on the mound are astonishing. All his home runs have come in his starts. Chance at a double play. Pujols spins, wide throw, on to first, not in time. They get the lead man Reyes, and there's one out.
The center fielder,
Carlos Beltran is hitting .299 with 6 home runs and 23 RBIs. As Eckstein on a wide throw had to stay on the bag, and it was tough to turn two, and Reyes didn't even slide going into second. It very well could be a product of his injuries the last couple of seasons.
Well, also you try to force a wide throw. One from Pujols has to throw around him. Eckstein has to throw around him. The way you stop that is you drill him. That's why most of the time you throw sidearm, and you see that runner will get down or he eats the ball.
Beltran has tremendous power, as we saw during the postseason last year, but the majority of the time it comes from the other side of the plate. He's a switch hitter, and against the left-handed Mark Mulder, he hits from the other side on the right. All of his home runs, all 6 of them, coming in Pedro's starts, and all but 7 RBIs of his 23 have been in the starts when Pedro's on the mound as well. Beltran high in the air. That'll be caught by John Mabry in right. On the track. And there's 2 outs.
the left fielder.
And it brings in
Number
Cliff
30.
Lloyd, who's off to a tremendous start. 10 home runs, 27 ribbies, and a .339 average. All those numbers in the top 10 in the National League.
Look at his home averages at home. It's just incredible when you think about it.
Came into the series a little bit of a roughest questions we have come up with this season. The Affleck trivia question. Name a Met. That's the trivia question on this Saturday afternoon, is name a Met.
He had a rough night.
Doug was in early last night in Manhattan. I know that.
What does that mean?
Name a Met. That's the question. As Edmonds lists this one into a center field. Beltran is there.
Are there multiple answers, or?
You would think. Name a Met.
The right fielder.
That's the trivia.
John Mabry.
I can't wait.
There's John Mabry hitting .324 with 1 home run and 5 RBIs. That 1 home run, of course, capping off the comeback victory for St. Louis and Cincinnati, the greatest in franchise history as far as a 9th inning is concerned. High strike to Mabry.
Sure the Cat didn't propose this trivia question?
Cat's not on the road trip.
I know, but it sounded like he probably would have called in with this one.
No. This is all Doug Stanton. His work on display for everybody to see. Name a Met. 2 balls and 1 strike on the Cardinal right fielder today. All kinds of movement on that pitch from Pedro Martinez.
That's it. His ball just explodes. Terrific movement.
And it's a walk, a rare walk handed out by Pedro. Okay, back to the Affleck trivia question.
12, Mark Grudzielanek.
If you've ever struggled with these, you probably had a good shot to get one right. Name a Met. And we've gone with Miguel Cairo. Al, you have no reaction. You look dumbfounded.
That is an accurate depiction of how I
Just
feel.
Staring at the screen.
Name a Met.
That was it.
There's Cairo. He the only one?
Well hit into left field off the bat of Mark Grudzielanek, and it's 2-0 Cardinals as he crushes one off of Pedro. 3rd home run for Grudzielanek, and it's 2-0 Cardinals with Mark Mulder on the mound, and the Cardinals have jumped out in front against Pedro Martinez.
Grudzielanek, I think, was frustrated last night as Tom Glavine hit the gym, and he changed his pitching pattern. There you see him make that slight adjustment on the off-speed pitch. Watch, he recognizes it, goes down and gets it, lifts it for his third home run. It's the fourth that Pedro has allowed. And the Cardinals jump out to a 2-0 lead. They lost last night 2-0. And Glavine really changed his pitching pattern from the past and really
throwing a lot of change-ups inside to the right-handed hitters, which he's never done.
Well, and not only that, but pitching more with the changeups and the fastballs inside. So every time from a pattern before, they throw, like, say, one pitch. And I really remember Grudzielanek, I think, frustrated him.
Ground ball to first off the bat of Taguchi for the second out.
About the time you thought, okay, he threw one pitch inside, so now I know he's going to go away, and then he kept on repeating. And the guys also said the changeup is really dumbfounding them inside, a place that you traditionally do not throw.
Now we should have guessed it going into the game. Soft tossing left-hander against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Backed off.
That means problems.
Yeah, backed off on his fastball. That's the 17th time he's defeated the Cardinals, too.
He's 17-6 now, and that's his first win over the St. Louis Cardinals since 2003 for Tom Glavine.
And Mr. Met, Miguel Cairo told me it's the best he's thrown this year.
Diaz laying down a bunt. Pedro is tested and out at first is Einar Diaz. Good bunt, though, surprising everybody here at the ballpark. Two-run homer by Grudzielanek. 2-zip St. Louis. For the best seats at Busch Stadium, check out the Prime Seat Club on STLCardinals.com. Prime Seat Club allows fans to safely purchase great seats owned by season ticket holders. So check it out online at STLCardinals.com. Mark Grudzielanek with a two-run homer off of Pedro Martinez. As we move to the bottom of the second, Mike Cameron, David Wright, and Ramon Castro for the Mets. Cameron hitting .417. Just came off the disabled list. This is his 8th game of 2005. The everyday right fielder for New York, the center fielder last season. With the addition of Carlos Beltran, Cameron moves to right, and the defense is much improved across the board here in New York. When you've got Beltran, who's terrific in center, Cameron has won 2 Gold Gloves while playing center, now in right. You've got a good shortstop in Reyes. They feel they have a good young nucleus of players to build around. And of course, Pedro Martinez in the fold for the next 4 years. Cameron with a pair of home runs and 4 RBIs to go along with that lofty average. Down to 2 balls and 1 strike. That's well hit into center field. Edmonds going back. He'll look up, and it's off the wall. Almost got out of here. Second hit for the Mets on the afternoon. A leadoff double for Cameron.
Second inning that the leadoff man is reached base via the base hit, and as you said, probably 2-3 feet from going out of the ballpark here at 410, dead center field. But Cameron had that wrist problem, was on the disabled list, and has made a statement in coming back. And a lot of times, a club like the Mets, when you have a premier pitcher like Pedro out there, he gives up the lead. Well, these guys are going to show that they appreciate his skills and come right back and make a game of it.
Now it's David Wright. Highly touted prospect, now playing every day at third base for the Mets. First round pick back in 2001. Been dealing with a bruised left foot after a foul ball on a recent road trip. That was against Chicago. That's back in Mulder, and they've got Cameron hung up. He's going to try to stay in the hot box and get right to second, and they can't do that. So Cameron is out. We have seen Mark Mulder handle his position defensively very well, Al, so far this year.
Well, he's a great athlete, and what he does proper right here is once he saw him trapped off, he made him commit. Mulder held on to the ball, kind of ran at him, and then when he got him going towards third base, then he got it to his third baseman, See, here's what he does. You've got to run at him, commit, cut him down, get in there, you get out of the way, go over, back up third base in case the rundown stays in it long enough to get him back going to the original base.
Right.
That also keeps Wright from being able to advance into second base also.
And you could see that he initially, when running at him, tried to commit him back to second. That's the proper way to do it.
Well, you just get him committed one way. You know, ideally it would be back to the base he had. And then Cameron was so far off, started going to third, so you just close the gap and get it to your third baseman, and then he gets him back.
If you're Cameron, you just try to stay in the hot box so that Wright can eventually wind up at second base, but he could not do that, so one out, runner at first, and here's the catcher, Castro. Former Florida Marlin. The backup catcher to Mike Piazza, who has the day off. We saw him last night. He went 0 for 3. Cardinals were 5-1 against New York last year, and St. Louis starts with a 10-4 record on the road. Mets have played very well here at Shea Stadium, a record of 12-5. They start play today 2.5 games back in the National League East.
Remember, you said that the Cardinals, 14 road games, they've had 13 quality starts. And the starting staff has posted a 1.74 ERA while limiting the opponents to a 190 batting average away from home.
Cardinals start today with a 3.5 game lead over Milwaukee, 5.5 over Chicago. Milwaukee's back over 500 at 18-16. The Cardinals 9 games above 500 at 22-13.
Houston, 10 games out.
10 games out. They can't win on the road.
I think they're 11 games under 500.
Bill Garner has already said we just got to try to at least get a few wins under our belt before the All-Star break and then try to make a run after the break. He's already saying that they're out of the race a little bit right now. And here we are playing on May 14th. Count of 2 balls, 2 strikes as Diaz looks into the dugout. Lays down the signs. 2-2 pitch.
Mark hasn't really settled in yet. Missing his spots a little bit.
Working from the stretch primarily too to start this ball game. After a leadoff base hit by Reyes in the first, and then the leadoff double by Cameron here in the second. And time is called. Kaz Matsui is on deck. He'll be greeted with some boos when he's introduced after 2 errors last night. Almost cost the Mets. Time called again. I can't remember if Diaz had caught Mark Mulder so far this year.
I do not believe so. And sometimes it takes a little while. Got veteran pitchers that know how to, what they want to throw.
Runner is going, and the pitch is hit into left field for a base hit. Stopping at second, David Wright, and runners at first and second now for Matsui.
The second baseman.
One of the things about Mulder is
Kazuo Matsui.
more fly balls or line drives, ball being elevated a little bit. When he's on, you know, that ball is down around the knees, not up there around the letters. And you can just tell when he's on, he gets ground ball after ground ball. Third best in the National League, inducing almost 3 ground balls for every fly ball.
Average of .227 for the switch hitting Kaz Matsui. 7-time All-Star in Japan, 3-time Gold Glove winner while playing shortstop. Matsui looks at a strike with Pedro Martinez on deck. He signed a 3-year, $20 million contract to come to the United States, and he's in the 2nd year of that deal. He also got plane tickets back to Japan, interpreter for both on and off the field. And a chance at a double play. Listen to these boos.
Welcome back to Shea Stadium. Joel Goldberg down on the field. Lots of boos for Kaz Matsui. Lots of Japanese media here as well, watching the two Japanese players, Matsui and Taguchi. The headline's quite simple in the Japanese papers today. It said, Taguchi starts in center, bats 7th. The other one said, Matsui starts at 2nd, bats 8th. And the third said, Matsui makes 2 errors. Let's go back upstairs to you guys. And Al, you know the Master Blaster knows his Japanese.
How did you know that?
It's about as strong as my nickname.
How did you were able to read the paper?
The Master Blaster, do not mess with him.
All right.
He's learning.
Take your word for it, I guess. Mark Mulder looks at a strike from Pedro Martinez. Be followed by David Eckstein and Abraham Nunez. Al Hrabosky alongside. Dan McLaughlin with you, and it's quickly 0-2 on Mulder. It's been staked to a 2-0 lead because of the home run by Grudzielanek in the second. Just 1 for 17, a former DH at Michigan State while in college. Batted cleanup for the Spartans in Big Ten play.
Yeah, but you put him in the American League where they don't get a chance to bat for several years, and his batting skills erode quickly.
Pedro looking for his first strikeout. And he comes in as the league leader in that department. Castro couldn't hold on as Mulder just got a piece.
His Mets debut, Pedro struck out 12.
Opponents only hitting 145 against the Mets right-hander this year. And the count runs full on Mark Mulder. Pedro has already walked a man. That was John Mabry, and he came around to score on the homer by Grudzielanek. The 3-2 pitch. Good cut by Mulder.
Martinez is 5th among active pitchers with over 2,700 strikeouts. He recorded his 101st career double-digit strikeout game on May 7th.
And that's strikeout number 64 on the year for Pedro. This month, baseball returns to Fox for another year of historical moments from some of the game's biggest stars, showdowns between the fiercest rivals in all of sports, and incredible moments that turn players into legends. The Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week back on May 21st in high definition. First strikeout of the afternoon for Martinez, who was victorious in game number 3 of the World Series against St. Louis. That's the last time we saw him. Here's David Eckstein. He lined to center first time up.
Pedro has made all the Mets pitchers that much better. Very helpful in sharing his knowledge.
Control has been a little bit of an issue, and you wonder if the days off affect the control, because pitchers are, guys that get into that 5th-day routine, and Pedro Martinez is not in that and will not be in that this year. Almost where you have to wear yourself down a little bit after the first couple of innings, and then you kind of feel a little bit better out there.
I think it's by design. He's 33 years of age, but he's throwing a lot of innings out there, and they feel that he needs that extra time periodically to help recover.
A 3-2 delivery. Eckstein into center field. Beltran to his left and makes the play. Our Schnooks this date in baseball history with 2 down and nobody on. The first no-hitter is thrown by a Royals pitcher at Royal Stadium. Jim Colburn beats the Rangers 6-0 back in 1977. Our this date in baseball history brought to you by Schnooks.
See both sides of the plate, up and down, changing speeds.
Working from the stretch, Martinez, and Pujols reaching a bit. Hits it into right. Mike Cameron is there. Cardinals strand a runner, and they lead it 2-0 midway through the 3rd. It'll be Martinez, Reyes, and Cairo. Ground ball to short. Long throw here for Eckstein, and he gets Pedro. Top of the order, Jose Reyes will dig in. He is singled today.
See if Mulder can't start getting on a roll with ground balls. Got the double play and the second. And he starts off the first time he retired the leadoff man. It's a common theme. Good pitchers, it takes them a couple innings to really get going. If you want to beat them, you usually got to beat them early.
Take a look at where Mulder starts his windup on that rubber.
Extreme edge of the third base side of the rubber.
Catches the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on.
Borderline as to whether it's legal or not.
Keeps working Reyes away from the plate, the outside portion.
It allows him to get inside if he wants to, but it's also very easy to throw outside, down and away to a right-handed batter.
Try to go inside on that pitch, and it's 2-2.
Most left-handers do throw across their body slightly.
A foul ball, and that caught Reyes. Now the fans are thinking, uh-oh.
Well,
you can hear that gasp by the fans because this.
Now we know where it hit him.
This man has been hurt many times, and if it got him there, eventually he'll be all right.
Yeah,
but right now,
eventually his voice just went up a few octaves.
Yeah. Ouch.
And for some reason, trainers aren't too anxious to help out.
Want to telestrate this out?
No, I really don't. I don't want any part of it.
Oh.
I think he's doing a good job showing us. It's hard not to laugh, you know, if you're Willie and the trainer. Randolph is going to do an outstanding job as a man. I asked Tony La Russa about him, and he said that he's been in a very good situation where he's learned a lot, and Willie said he even played for Tony
back in 1990
towards the end of his career, and he really kind of helped out. There you see, just, you know, what a veteran move there. His first year manager, but he didn't laugh till he got back to the dugout. 2-2
pitch, and Reyes pops it up out of play, and a souvenir for this big crowd here at Shea Stadium.
Come back with another off-speed pitch. I think if you can get him out, leaning out over the plate again.
But Willie Randolph was traded by, I believe, the Yankees to Oakland to play for Tony La Russa. Walt Weiss was hurt. They moved Mike Gallego to short. Randolph played second base and had a game-clinching hit and a series-clinching hit. Game number 4 against Boston, as the A's would win that series and then lose in 4 games to the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series. There's the answer to our trivia question. I would have missed it.
I would have thought a better trivia question would have been when Miguel Cairo played third base for the Mets. What number did he become of all-time third baseman? What number was he when he played third base for the first time?
So how many times have they used a different third baseman?
Exactly.
Into the corner it goes. And Cairo will stop at second base with a 2-out double. That's the second double for New York in this ball game.
And I know the suspense is killing this, but I'll just tell you, 131st third baseman.
Not that many.
Yeah. Came out there coming down with it, but Cairo, a low ball hitter, goes down and gets it, lifts it into the left field corner for an extra bases. That's been a troublesome spot for the Mets, and he became the 131st third baseman in their history.
And they've got now David Wright, and they feel he'll be there for a long time. Ground ball left side. Eckstein, long throw, not in time. Beltran with that good speed, beat it out. Runners at the corners with 2 down.
Ground ball just well placed underneath the glove and dive of Nunez. And Eckstein backing up. He saves the run by just being there. And as you said, Beltran, a very easy run. Tried to cheat a little bit by the illusion. And he really wasn't even running hard. Give you an idea of how he can glide.
Now Cliff Floyd, the cleanup man. Pair of home runs last night off of Jason Marquis.
And with the Pujols the first time up.
Finally healthy, off to a great start.
Almost clipped him in the knee.
2 Chicago natives going head to head here. Cliff Floyd and Mark Mulder. Beltran at first, Cairo at third. Mulder's been seeing base runners every inning so far. And has pitched out of these jams, trying to do so again. Two 2-0 the count. They say when Pedro Martinez pitches at home, it's a extra 10,000 through the turnstiles, and we've got that here today. A little bigger crowd than we had last night. It's packed.
Steve Carlton, when he had that big year with 72 with Philadelphia in 27 ball games, he said that they could document that whenever he pitched, it was worth an extra 17,000 fans.
Roger Clemens has an attendance clause in his contract with Houston. Same thing there. They figured it was about an extra 13,000 to 15,000 when he was on the mound last year. He's one of the reasons to go to the ballpark if you're a Houston fan, despite their struggles. 3 balls and a strike on Floyd. Outfield is straight away and deep for Cliff Floyd.
And then shading them towards right just slightly. Taguchi well off the left field line, playing around.
Time is called. Cairo got the 2-out double. He advanced on the infield single by Carlos Beltran. Good speed out there on the base pass. Full count on Floyd. So Beltran off with this next pitch.
Goes it by him, a little action on that one. Got the full count here. Left-handed batter. Cameron has a double. He's on deck. Lefty-lefty matchup.
The 3-2 pitch. Pounded foul. Cliff Floyd has had an extended career with the Expos, Marlins, Boston, now the Mets, a career .283 hitter at the beginning of this season. What pitch does Mulder want here on 3-2?
Really more of a bell-tied, low ball hitter.
Big strikeout for Mulder, number 2 in the inning, number 2 in the game. Mets have stranded 4 after 3. The Cardinals lead it by the score of 2-0. Edmonds, Mabry, and the home run hitter for St. Louis, Grudzielanek, coming up. Pitch of the game, Mark Mulder striking out Cliff Floyd with 2 runners on. That's your Hardy's hot pitch of the game. And it's a strike curveball into Jim Edmonds, the cleanup man today for St. Louis. We're in the 4th, and the Cardinals lead it 2-0 against Pedro Martinez. The action on that pitch.
It just gives you a variety of things. He throws strikes with all 4 of his pitches. Very businesslike. You know, a lot of hitters don't feel real comfortable in the batter's box. Has a little reputation of throwing the ball inside.
0-2 pitch. Curveball outside. Pedro's in his 14th major league season. Originally signed by the Dodgers back in 1988.
Now they had to get rid of him because they didn't think he was big enough. Wasn't going to be durable enough to pitch in the big leagues.
Brother Ramon was very good with Los Angeles for a while. The brothers actually pitched together for a while too. Pedro is one of 6 kids, 4 boys, out of the Dominican.
And you see who they traded for when he went to Montreal.
Delino DeShields.
Delino DeShields.
Memory serves me correct. Yep. Strikeout number 2 on the afternoon.
The right fielder, number 47.
Jim Edmonds, he
John
loads
Mabry.
up, and instead of striding out, or just, he's reaching rather than striding towards the plate, get more of leverage on that ball that's out away from him.
Here's Mabry.
That's one of the things that Pedro does is people do not feel comfortable against him because he can pitch inside, running in on you. And then you're kind of reaching rather than striding across the plate.
The count is 2 balls and no strikes on John Mabry. With 1 out, nobody on. Mabry into deep right field. Has a chance, and it's off the top of the wall. Mabry's thinking 2. He is in there with a double. About a span of 5 seconds, and went from a home run to a single to almost being thrown out at second. Good play out there by Mike Cameron, though, to make that close.
It may be really interesting, and maybe later on in the season, you wonder if he would have gone for the catch, knowing that Beltran would have been there to back up. Probably never got to it, but he kind of was running parallel to the wall, or maybe if he would have taken more of a direct approach, he could have reached up and possibly caught that ball. John Mabry always hustling, and he had to hustle on that one to get in there ahead of the throw.
Strike 2, Grudzielanek, who homered to left his first time up. Cardinals lead it by the score of 2-0 here in the top of the 4th.
You can see as you got 2 very good outfielders there. As he knows that Beltran will be backing up, which he was. Then you could go for that catch, and Mabry wouldn't have gotten any more than a double anyway. Part of that is you have 2 center fielders. One guy's learning to play a corner position.
Grudzielanek in the hole, no balls and 2 strikes with Mabry the runner at second. Pedro working from the stretch. Curveball into left field. That's a base hit, and the Cardinals lead it 3-0. Mark Grudzielanek is thinking 2, hustling out of the box. He is out at second. Looked like he may have gotten that foot in there, the wide side of the bag, and avoided the tag, and here comes Tony La Russa. A tremendous slide by Grudzielanek on a heads-up play.
And he fled to the second base umpire. Hanging breaking ball, got underneath it. But Mabry, he's thinking the play is going to be there, so he's going to challenge. And he is one of the better runners. And you can see that he slides to the back half of the bag, the throw on the inner part. Maybe the throw might have beat him, but it looked like he slid around the tag.
Sure did.
The left fielder, number Number 99.
But
So
Grudzielanek is one of the more intelligent guys, and traditionally will get a lot of doubles because he challenges. That,
He's safe.
there is a very, very good slide. You can see why he won. Watch the leg go to the back half where the tag comes across, and he gets that toe in there. You can't tell when he's touching. Now he's finally touching, but that lead leg was already on the bag.
And it didn't seem that the umpire was in the best position to make that call either. And Pedro Martinez was just staring at Tony La Russa as he trotted off the field. He wanted to get pitching. Base is empty now. 2 down for So Taguchi, who grounded to first. His first time up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Taguchi playing left field today. The curveball misses in. So an 0-2 mistake to Grudzielanek, and he hammered it into left field for his second hit against Pedro Martinez. Count runs to 3-1, and Pedro's been pitching behind in the count an awful lot here early on.
Cardinals can do that to a pitcher, and he's not as sharp as he traditionally is. They say he's either been unhittable or sort of flirting with disaster a little bit, but still winning.
A 3-2 pitch, curveball hit left side, diving play. Wright gets up. Oh, what a play! As he takes a hit away from So Taguchi. Terrific play by the youngster David Wright. The Cardinals have added to their lead. But as we head to break, another look at the diving stop by the Mets third baseman. Stadium is coming up Tuesday, May 24th. Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. 425-0600. Or you can always check it out online at stlcardinals.com for more information. For all the boys and Girl Scouts in St. Louis. And the batter is Mike Cameron, who doubled back in the second off the top of the wall in dead center field. The 1-0 pitch to Cameron is taken for a ball. It'll be Cameron, David Wright, and Ramon Castro for the Mets in their half of the fourth, trailing 3-0 against Mark Mulder, trying to make it 6 straight wins. Falls behind 3-0.
Two pitchers that have very good control have fallen behind several batters today.
3 balls and 1 strike.
It does create a situation where Mulder does elevate the ball to try and get the strike.
The 3-1 pitch. Cameron pulls it foul. It was a tale of 2 seasons last season for Mike Cameron. Led the team in home runs with 30 and steals with 22, but on the downside, he struck out at an alarming rate. Nearly every 3 at-bats, and he hit just .231. That's his lowest average since 1998. And he draws a walk. So again, Mark Mulder pitching with runners on. He has done it every inning so far.
Third baseman, number 9, David Wright.
And here's David Wright after his tremendous play.
Walk allowed by Mulder. And Mets have 5 hits against him. Another double play candidate.
David Wright made a quick rise through AA and AAA last year. Finally arrived in the big leagues in July. Led the Mets in average with .293, 14 home runs, and he drove in 40 in just 263 at-bats. Not a bad debut. Hey, you can email the booth too. FoxSports.com. The keyword is Cardinals booth. Al's ready to answer some emails.
Absolutely. Got the armed forces listening to this ball game.
We got a bunch of emails
I
from
wonder if
the armed forces the
I
other
wonder if
day.
anybody from the LaSalle was on that in '97. Out in the Med. Anybody from Ramstein also took a C-130 from Ramstein to Bosnia. A couple days in Tent City and Hungary before getting turned over to the Navy, going on 2 missile frigates, submarine tender, fast attack sub. Admiral of the 6th Fleet, I believe, sent his helicopter and picked us up in Naples, dropped us off on his command ship, La Salle, and also the NATO Southern Commander. How about that, huh?
You're all over it. Good play by Diaz to keep it in front. He blocked it. Count is 2 balls, 1 strike on David Wright. Einar Diaz will start today, with Yadier Molina on the bench.
Come on, y'all. Check it out, y'all.
See if the Mets want to do some running here with Cameron. Good speed. Should mention he led their team in steals a year ago. Traditional running count of 2 balls, 1 strike. He's not going. The pitch is a strike. It's 2-2.
They haven't run on 2-1 for years. Everybody said it became so predictable. And, you know, you don't run on it. And that is one big change the last 10 years or so, how the managers have really gotten involved trying to stop the running game. One of the reasons why the game has taken longer to play.
2-2 pitch. Lined into the seats.
Cardinal fan with a nice play.
And he's wearing a Scott Rowland jersey. And we hope Scott Rowland is feeling well today. Shoulder surgery, little cleanup surgery, a tear of the labrum. We have not had a chance to visit with him, obviously. He's back home in St. Louis. Guys like Abraham Nunez and John Mabry are going to see a lot of playing time. Scott Siebel as well, as he was called up from AAA.
Can't replace the Scott Rowland, but those guys have done a great job defensively and offensively in his absence. But Mulder or all the pitchers will say, we'll take Scott not only for his defense, but for that terrific offense he'll provide for you too, and put the other position players back on the bench in their familiar roles.
2-2 is outside, gets away from Diaz, but Cameron staying at first. What's interesting to me, Al, is the fact that you've got a guy that is a ground ball pitcher in Mark Mulder. You've got a runner at first that led the team in steals and has great speed, and Cameron. With those ground balls, you start that runner, you avoid a double play.
Also interesting, a lot of times the ball club takes on the personality of the manager. And to me, Willie Randolph is a winning type player. He's a guy that pushes the aggressive side.
He was going there, and that's a fair ball into the right field corner. The Mets are on the board. Wright with an RBI double. Cameron scores, and it's 3-1 St. Louis. A pitch that was up in the zone, out over the plate. He just went with it and lined it into the right field corner.
Good piece of hitting. And coming off the bat of a right-hander, will slice away from John Mabry into the corner. Cameron with that good speed. No way to stop him. And David Wright puts himself in scoring position for Castro, who is 1 for 1.
57 pitches thrown already by Mark Mulder. There's Mulder and Hudson, who hooked up in Atlanta. We were expecting a great pitching duel. We didn't get it. We've got Mulder and Pedro Martinez here this afternoon, and Pedro's been pitching behind. Mulder has as well, but he does get out in front of Castro with the first pitch strike. Quickly, it's 0-2 with Kaz Matsui on deck.
Mulder has not been able to get the ball down as consistently as we've seen him when he pitches his great games. 5 pitches have been up, Part of that maybe because pitching behind the count, maybe this umpire not giving either starter the bottom part of the zone.
Mulder trying to record the first out here in the bottom of the fourth. Good pitch. Doesn't get the call, and it's 1-2.
That's what I'm talking about, where times he's made pitches that I'm sure in the location that he wants and hasn't gotten the call, so it's brought him up in the zone, and then the ball has a tendency to be hit a lot harder there. Martinez has gotten underneath a lot of his breaking balls, flatten out.
Good question here on an email with the World Cup being announced for March of '06. And for those of you that don't know, it'll be a 16-team tournament with these players around Major League Baseball representing their countries. And the Players Association, along with Bud Selig and Major League Baseball, came to an agreement to do this. But what Cardinals would be on the various teams? Here's a 2-2 pitch. You've got So Taguchi for Japan. You've got Albert Pujols for the Dominican or Team USA. Mark Mulder for Team USA.
If I were the Cardinals, Tony La Russa, I don't know if I'd want any of my players.
I agree
to
with
play.
you. I don't know if it's a good thing either, especially for the pitchers.
I think the Major League Baseball wants to see it for.
Down the left field line, it is hooking and foul.
They want to see it to increase the presence in the world market, money that way. But boy, there's a lot of risks, especially if you're talking about doing spring training.
Guys aren't conditioned yet, and that's where I mean, a position player is one thing. Sometimes those guys feel they need about a week's worth of at-bats or games and they're ready to roll, but for the pitchers it's different.
Wait and see if somebody get hurt.
Right. The 3-2 pitch from Mulder. Pulled foul again. Was 0-2, and now it's a battle with Castro.
How would you explain to the St. Louis fans that one of the star players gets hurt playing basically an exhibition and is lost for the season or a major part, and you got to pay the contract anyway? It sounds good in theory, but still a lot of things to be worked out.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Ground ball left side. That's a base hit. Right being waved home. The throw is offline from So Taguchi. 3-2 Cardinals.
Manny Acta, third base coach. Got a lot of young players here. He's pretty excited about this scoring opportunity. And one of the few times we could ever say that So Taguchi made an offline throw that allows Castro to get into second base in scoring position.
And now Dave Duncan out to talk with the Cardinals starter, Mark Mulder, who's had some pitches up in the zone here in this inning.
Dave doesn't stay out there long enough to have a word with the home plate umpire. It appears to be the case, but Matsui, the batter, nobody out here in the 4th inning. Start with a walk, couple base hits, and the Mets are right back in this ball game. And Matsui, a chance to turn some of the boos around or hear a few more.
Matsui's hit into a double play to end the 2nd inning. We're in the bottom of the 4th, still nobody out. Kaz Matsui, playing shortstop last year with Reyes banged up for the first 2.5 months of the season. Now he's been shifted to second base. Was an Iron Man over in Japan. He played in over 1,200 straight games. Art Howe finally sat him for 1 game last year. just foul. 0-2 the count.
Heard people describe Matsui as a turf player. You know, this type of range, the type of fielder that he is, he's better suited playing on artificial surface. And this is a tough playing field here. The grass is much shorter than it normally is, but it's still very bumpy. And so
the players are talking about that today.
Yeah, you've got tough conditions, and you really have to concentrate. On turf, it's always a true hop.
Eckstein makes the play. Runner advances to third for Pedro Martinez.
The pitcher, number 45, Pedro Martinez.
Pedro 0 for 20 on the young year.
He grounded to short, first time up.
The ball fairly hard that first time. They got the infield drawn in.
David Clausen is watching us in Germany and says hello.
Hello, David. I don't know if you heard us.
Strike one to Pedro. Chance for Martinez to help himself. He could tie it up with a base hit. Infield is in. Mulder finally set. Delivers the 0-1 pitch. And it's 0-2. Chance for Mulder to help himself and get that second out with a strikeout here.
Absolutely. Now that he's got him 0-2, you'd like to think he could finish him off, try and get him to expand his zone.
He did, and a foul ball. Pedro Martinez back in the National League. He first pitched with Los Angeles and Montreal for a number of years, and then it was off to Boston, 7 years with the Red Sox. First year of a 4-year contract with the New York Mets.
Mulder trying to get him to chase the ball up, and it almost got by Diaz.
Pitch up in his eyes, and he hammered it foul. A ball and 2 strikes on Pedro Martinez.
He wants the fastball.
Hit to short. Hard hit. Eckstein. Good play to his left, and the runner had to stay put at third. That's Castro.
The shortstop.
Now, Al, on contact, should he be heading to the plate?
Now
runner at third?
Well, I mean, it's either, if you're going on contact, you're on contact. You see Diaz getting prepared for a play at the plate, but, you know, that was not contact there. With Pedro up there, you know, you're going to save at least a shot with Reyes. And a ball like that, it's tough for that runner because it almost looks like Mulder has a chance to field it, and then you're dead out. But obviously was not going on contact. The ball's to the right side, maybe he would go.
Hit into left. Taguchi makes the play, shading the sun with his glasses and his glove. The Mets get 2 and cut the lead to 3-2. Well, out of all the mascots in baseball, you love the chicken, you love Mr. Met, but your favorite, of course, is Fredbird. But I know you enjoy Mr. Met, as the Cardinals take on the Metropolitans.
He's not one of my favorites. Used to have the Lone Ranger used to be in attendance here all the time.
Lone Ranger?
Yeah, the Lone Ranger. That's it.
The diving play! Oh, what a play!
These Met fans are going to love that. You know, they get guys that play with a little bit of flair, but these guys are playing hard, flat out, diving for balls, doing things. Met fans really haven't had a chance to root too much
Mark Mulder.
the last few years, and they're getting excited about this team.
Well, that's a great play and right by Mike Cameron. And now it's Mulder. Pedro appreciates that as he gave him a wave out there and right. Mulder takes strike one. He struck out back in the third. Martinez has struck out 2 on the afternoon. Pedro has thrown 66 pitches today. As we play here in the top of the 5th. That's strike 2, 1-2. Attention last season on Curt Schilling, not as much on Pedro Martinez. He's not one to shy away from the media or the attention. He welcomes it.
Well, he kind of brought a little attention to himself after he left.
Strikeout number 3.
The shortstop, David Eckstein.
2 down, and it brings in David Eckstein. He was unhappy with the way that he thought he was slighted with the contract offer that Boston had put out there. Initially started at a 2-year, $27.5 million contract. Of course, the Mets finally got in there with 4 years, $53 million.
A lot of people felt that the Mets went to a high level, but Pedro brings an awful lot to the table. Sells tickets. He makes his teammates better. He helps the other pitchers. Even veterans like Tom Glavine. One of the things Pedro noticed is, you know, hey, take the ball out of your glove sooner, get you in a rhythm.
He thought he had strike 3. He was walking off the mound. Instead, it's a 1-2 count.
A little bit high.
Another curveball fouled back.
See Pedro, you know, he has that presence about him on the mound where all business, gets the ball, works fast, works quickly.
David Eckstein battling yet again. He's seeing an average of over 4 pitches per at bat. That's one of the tops in the major leagues.
You know what? That to me, that was. I read that too, and I thought it was awful low.
Yeah. He strikes out. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Pedro Martinez. 4 on the day, and a little help from his right fielder as well. 3-2 St. Louis. Middle of 5. It's Mark Mulder. Bottom of the 5th. Here at Shea Stadium in New York. Dan McLaughlin, Al Raboski with you. Joe Goldberg as well, our Bud Sports crew. And the first pitch is a ball outside. To me, it seems like Mulder has worked a little slower this afternoon than normal. Do you agree?
Yes, and indication that he's not really comfortable with his pace or his stuff.
Line shot taken there by Grudzielanek. It is a catch. Hesitation out there, but that's out number 1. This portion of Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack invites you to come in and experience ciabatta. It's all about the bread. And by your local Chrysler Jeep dealers. Gorgeous afternoon here in New York. And here's Carlos Beltran, who's 1 for 2. Big curveball in the dirt for ball 1. 7 years in Kansas City with the 1999 Rookie of the Year. Astros had a deal on the table for Beltran to keep him at $96 million for 6 years. And the Mets blew that out of the water with 7 years, $119 million. It's the Yankees, the Mets, Cubs, and Tigers trying to get his services. Represented by Scott Boras. And the count is 3 balls and no strikes.
Houston lost an awful lot of offense. Age creeping up on some of their star players.
Jeff Bagwell has hinted that he may retire, not at the end of the season, but right now.
He's such a class player. And if he can't play to his standards because of that shoulder, and he's battled that for several years, finally succumbing to the disabled list the first time in 7 years, and multiple surgeries on it. You know, he has to be hurt and has too much pride to just sit there and take a roster spot.
You ever heard of conditioned ocular enhancement?
Absolutely.
That was the final piece of the puzzle for Carlos Beltran, on top of the $119 million to come to New York. It's something that Juan Gonzalez brought to Kansas City, and he loved it, and he strikes out. And that's 2 outs in the inning. But what it is, it's a machine that many teams in baseball now are starting to incorporate. And what it is, it's a machine that throws tennis balls, and you don't hit them, but you watch them come in from about the distance of where the pitcher would be, and they're marked with numbers, and they go from 80 to 150 miles per hour, and you watch it in and you try to guess the number if you can see it. And it's the idea is that a batter, it trains you to wait as long as you can before you attack the baseball, and he really thinks it's helped him out.
Now there's first time I heard anything like that was Greg Jeffries. His father was a coach, and they used to do something like that, shoot balls at it, and they had numbers on them. You would distinguish the numbers. Some of them were different colors. So it's that was probably the beginning of that technology that is
now becoming widespread in the game of baseball. The first 1-2-3 inning for Mark Mulder. He's through 5. Beautiful afternoon at Shea, and the Cardinals lead it 3-2. By Budweiser tomorrow at noon on the WB. The Cardinals and Mets will wrap up their 3-game set. Off day on Monday. Then we head to Philadelphia and then Kansas City to wrap up this 9-game road trip. Pretty well hit into right field. Cameron going back at the wall, and it's gone. A home run for Nunez. How about that? Abraham Nunez with his 4th home run, his 9th RBI, and the Cardinals have a 2-run lead back. But Abraham Nunez, 4 home runs. Who would have thought that in mid-May?
He has been such a pleasant surprise.
First baseman, Albert Pujols.
Nunez, you know, I think Pedro's just saying, here's a strike, hit it. Didn't think he could do it. Look at Cameron. How about that effort? Those are what's going to win fans back here in New York is, you know, a talented team, but play hard and effort like that. They haven't done that for a while.
0-2 on Albert Pujols. Another look at the effort of Mike Cameron to scale this wall and at least make the effort. Albert Pujols into center field. Beltran back near the 410 sign in center field. And that's out number 1. Pujols is 0 for 3 today.
2 home runs allowed today from Pedro.
Center fielder, Jim
50
Edmonds.
innings coming in. He had allowed 3. There's a lot of good pitchers that have given up a lot of solo shots to hitters that you wouldn't really envision would be big home run hitters, but really trying to get outs.
A 1 pitch to Edmonds, who struck out back in the 4th and flied to center. He was carved up in that second at bat. Average at .275, 6 homers and 21 ribbies. Martinez has struck out 4 on the afternoon. Jimmy just got a piece.
Twelve years in the big leagues for Pedro, and came in with 182 and 76.
Edmonds reaches out and gets a base hit on a 1-2 pitch. Good job of hitting by Edmonds, who takes a wide turnaround first. It's a 1-out hit. Congratulations to 11-year-old Brendan Blaze, this year's St. Louis area winner of the Briggs and Stratton Diamonds in the Rough SA contest. on his baseball field, $5,000 worth of improvements. Check out more at BriggsDiamondsInTheRough.com.
Mabry having a nice day.
2 runs scored, a double, and a walk. John lines it past the first baseman. That's a fair ball. Edmonds around second base, heading for third. And the throw is offline. So Edmonds takes the extra base.
See how they score it. Remember, Cairo not...
As Jimmy heard, he's over there stretching as he immediately called time.
Had a lot of experience there and took a little bad hop. We talked about the playing surface here, very
Mark
bumpy.
Grudzielanek.
There was an indication of it there. It bounces over his glove hand. Might have got him on the wrist. Wasn't in perfect fielding position as the ball didn't square up to his body. And Jim appears to be okay.
It's the Cardinals' 5th hit this afternoon and 3rd in this inning, and Mark Grudzielanek has had a big day.
Or did they score an error? Now
they
they're
just
going
have.
Now they're going to talk to Jim Edmonds. Says he's okay. When they're kind of slowing up, you always worry about his knees a little bit, but I think he almost kind of grabbed his hip.
Numbers 5 and 6 in the order today have done some damage against Pedro Martinez. John Mabry and Mark Grudzielanek. Grudzielanek 2 for 2. A foul ball for strike 1. 1 out. Runners at the corners. You're right. It's like Edmonds keeps limping back to the bag, and he's holding his left hip, it looks like. Been motioning towards that portion of his body a couple of times instead of the knees. Oh, 1 pitch. Grudzielanek into deep right center field. Cameron going back. Plenty deep to score Edmonds. He can just trot on in. Another RBI for the Cardinals second baseman, and it's 5-2 St. Louis. Big afternoon for Mark Grudzielanek.
4 RBIs for Mark.
Left fielder, So Taguchi.
2-run home run, RBI single in the 4th, and now the sacrifice fly for his 4th RBI and 15 on the year.
Mark Mulder has his 4 runs plus, and worth noting.
Here's Taguchi, and he pops it up. This should be the 3rd and final out as Reyes shades from the sun and makes the play. Cardinals pick up a couple of runs. A home run by Nunez, sacrifice fly by Grudzielanek, and it's 5-2. Here's Mike Cameron, followed by David Wright and Ramon Castro. Cameron battling through injuries a year ago. And off to a good start. Walked and scored back in the 4th, and he doubled in the 2nd. Made a great play in right field. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Cameron was part of the Ken Griffey Jr. deal back in 2000. And with the White Sox, he started with them, then Cincinnati, Seattle, and now with New York. And I mentioned the injuries. It was wrist injuries last season that hurt his batting average, but the power numbers were very good with 30 home runs. Out in front and singles up the middle. 3rd time he's been on base.
Perfect day for Cameron.
3rd baseman.
See where this ball was. Appeared that he had to reach for it outside, and most of the time the hitter will roll over and hit a ground ball to stay short. This one went through the middle and for the base hit.
And here's David Wright, 1 for 2 with an RBI double and a run scored back in the 4th.
5, 6, and 7 in the Mets order have been troublesome. This part, Cameron, Wright, and Castro.
Cardinals twice now have had a 3-run lead. At one point it was 3-0. Then 3-2, and now it's 5-2. Mets have out hit St. Louis 8-5.
Cardinals scored 5 runs for Mulder today, and he has a career record of 69-5. And he receives 4 or more runs of support. How about that?
Pretty telling stat. Would love a double play. He's induced 1 double play today. That was off the bat of Kaz Matsui in the 2nd inning.
And this is where that scenario we talked about, because he does get so many ground balls, you were a little curious as to why they haven't started these runners to avoid the double play. This scenario was in play last time up when Wright got the double into right field. Finally was a count where Cameron was running.
It was full. Not much of a lead at first. Lines it up the middle. That's a base hit. Cameron will stop at second base. And it's runners at first and second. Nobody out. Here come the Mets. Mulder, for the most part today, Al, has been able to pitch out of trouble. He's had 1 inning in which he got him in order 1, 2, 3. And after that, he's been dealing with base runners all afternoon.
You know, he's bent quite a bit, but he hasn't broken. He's up to 91 pitches. Usually Mulder is around 7 innings, or through 7 by that pitch count. Through a complete game, 1-0, 10-inning shutout against Roger Clemens and the Houston Astros, where he threw 101 pitches through 10 innings.
First pitch to Castro, taken for a ball, 2 for 2 with an RBI. Double play candidate here. This will be pitch number 93 for Mulder, and it's a strike. That's the case, as the Cardinals sent down Jarvis, brought up Gabe White, and of course Scott Rowland has been disabled, so they brought up Scott Seabold as well.
You like good pitchers that can retire both right and left-handed batters out.
2-2 pitch down the left field line, and a foul ball. McShay was ready to erupt. Mark Mulder trying to get through 6 innings of work as they huddle behind the mound. Matsui's on deck, and then it'll be Pedro Martinez.
Interesting. It looked like Grudzielanek started that conference.
He did.
So whether thought maybe Cameron out at second base might have been giving away location, or something he saw.
2-2 delivery.
Castro battling, good bat no matter what he does. Mulder looking to try and win his 6th game in a row
and go to 6-1 overall. Martinez trying to get to 5-1. 2 of the game's best. 2-2 pitch. And again, he just got a piece. And this will be pitch number 100 on the afternoon for Mulder coming up. Inning started with a single by Cameron on a 1-2 pitch. Then David Wright ripped one for a base hit. 8 pitches this at bat with Castro. Oh. Wow. counters that pitch.
Bet it was right where Mulder wanted it. Duncan thought it was the pitch. Not full again.
Crowd into it again. Mulder and Castro, a battle here in the 6th inning. 2 runners on. Nobody out. The 3-2 pitch. Bases loaded for Matsui.
The second baseman.
Great at bat by the Mets catcher today.
Well, it had to be pretty cool to take those last 2 pitches. One down and in. The other one looked like it was up over the middle of the plate, but no call given.
Take a look at the overhead. Little inside. Bases loaded. Mike Cameron, David Wright, and Ramon Castro. This is Matsui. He is hit into an inning-ending double play back in the 2nd. He's also grounded out to short. Shea Stadium has come alive. Strike 1 to Matsui. Mulder out in front. Mulder is due up 2nd for the Cardinals in the 7th. This will be his final inning of work. Probably.
2 for 8 with the bases loaded.
Matsui delivers. Three runs are going to score on an RBI triple by Matsui.
Down in the right field corner. Looked like John Mabry had a little trouble with it. And that allowed all 3 runners to score and a stand-up triple. Ball is down, but he has that kind of a low swing. And this is all tied up. 10 hits allowed, and Mulder couldn't survive this 6th inning.
He's done. Pedro Martinez is done as the Mets will pinch hit for Pedro. Brand new game. It's 5-5 with Thompson coming in. 3rd appearance on the year, and he's been very impressive, Al, in his first 2.
He really has. He pitched 3 innings the first time. He allowed a home run in that, but he picked up his first save in his major league debut. Then he put 2 shutout innings as he just mowed 6 up, 6 down, but he throws strikes. He does not seem intimidated. He looks like he's about 15. He is 23, but he just goes out and throws strikes.
Infield in, and Diaz is the pinch hitter for Pedro Martinez. His afternoon is done. 6 innings, 5 runs allowed on 5 hits. He walked 2, struck out 4, and allowed 2 home runs. 1 to Grudzielanek, the other 2 Abrama Nunez. Brand new game now. It's 5-5, a battle between the bullpens. 0-1 pitch up the middle, and the Mets have the lead. Close the book on Mark Mulder and his 5 innings and 6 runs allowed on 10 hits.
He has established a rookie record for RBIs in the month of April with 10, and looking for a ground ball. He gets the ground ball right through the legs, right over the mound and into center field. Breaks the 5-5 tie. So pinch hitter doing a nice job, Victor Diaz.
Top of the order, Reyes. Still nobody out, trying to bunt his way on. Strike 1 on a foul ball. Tony La Russa allowing Mark Mulder to stay in there, and Kaz Matsui made a pay with the RBI triple with the bases loaded. Oh, 1 pitch from Thompson.
A lot of times guys that bunt frequently for base hits are terrible when trying to sacrifice. They just can't keep their feet still. They want to run before they drop down the bunt.
Bunts it in the air, and it's foul. Strike 2 on Reyes.
Stabbing at it. Drop the barrel of the bat. You always want the barrel higher than the handle. When you drop it, you'll pop the ball in the air. Safe to say the pitching matchup we thought we'd see didn't materialize.
The 1-2 off the glove of Pujols. Can they get anybody? Throw to second. That's into left field. Taguchi up with it. He'll throw to third. Everybody's safe. An error on Albert Pujols.
Would be a double error.
He dropped the line drive, then kicked it up, threw it into left.
Tried to get back to the bag and complete the double play before he really secured the ball in his glove. Bounces out. There he gets it. Then you see him racing to the bag. Now he comes over and complicates it by throwing the ball away, an off-balance throw. Popped it up. His footwork was going back to the bag before he secured it there. Down he throws it away.
Runners at first and third for Miguel Cairo.
They gave a hit on that. And then,
How can that be a hit? I know it's a hard hit ball, but he's got to make that play. He'll tell you that.
It's the big ones. Yeah, that's it. He'll tell you right out flat that he should have made the play.
Should be 2 errors on the play. FSN Across America, the weekly magazine show that reveals sports' most dramatic stories. This week, future Hall of Famer Brett Hall. I'll sit down with him. It's at 10:30 tomorrow morning on FSN Across America, and it's on tonight as well at 10:30 following the Midwest Sports Report. So they give him a hit. He's off with the pitch, and now Thompson's got him out at second.
Play that never works. Does work on occasion.
Well, he took off so fast, and then Thompson was just going to do, I think, the fake throw to third, and then look to first, and then realized, whoa, he left.
But you know what? He didn't panic. He was surprised that he did take off as early as he did, but then he got himself under control, took a little crow hop, and threw the ball to second to nail it.
Mets have picked up 4 here in the 6th inning and lead it 6-5. Runner at third is Diaz for Cairo, who is 1 for 3 with a double.
Just a 1-run deficit, and the Cardinals get into that bullpen before they get to the Hernandez and Looper that were so good last night.
Beltran on deck. 1-0 pitch. Foul back. Good cut by Miguel. Cairo has grounded to first. He's doubled, and he's popped out to second.
Like Heath Bell warming up for the Mets.
They have just 1 left-hander and 5 righties in their bullpen.
Seems strange without John Franco.
Sure does. Thinking the same thing. The former captain of the Mets now with Houston. Curveball has popped up. Foul territory. Pujols has a play. Albert makes it. 2 outs. Good job by Thompson coming in, pumping strikes, and a chance to minimize the damage here after getting Reyes picked off. Pop out by Cairo for the 2nd out. Now it's Beltran hitting from the left side of the plate. This is his power side. All 6 of his home runs have come from that side, as Mark Mulder can just watch now.
Not that you ever want to see guys come into tough situations, but sometimes you do want to see how they respond if they are presented with it. And this appears to be another good test for Thompson, and he's passing it so far.
He is due up second for the Cardinals in the top of the 7th. Beltran with an infield hit back in the 3rd, 1 for 3. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Beltran, a broken bat, hits to the 2nd. Grudzielanek is there, and how about the young right-hander out of the bullpen for St. Louis, Brad Thompson. Good work again. 6-5 Mets, their first lead. Today's pitch-by-pitch feature is brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. It's Carlos Beltran and Brad Thompson.
Basically sinker slider, went after him a couple sinkers, and then it gets him to roll over on the 3rd one. So good work by Brad Thompson. Not one of the best hitters, one of the most expensive hitters in the game, and looked like he was very comfortable out there.
Brian Thomas is today's merchandise winner in the Hyundai Long Drive Inning Sweepstakes. If the Cardinals hit a home run in the 7th, Brian qualifies for the Hyundai drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer.
He is, and then Scott Seabold will pinch hit for Brad Thompson. And to the top of the order, Eckstein.
New pitcher in is Heath Bell. This will be his 13th appearance. Opponent's hitting .245 against this big right-hander. In relief of Pedro Martinez.
Started the season at AAA, recalled on April the 19th.
And the first pitch is popped up by Diaz. Foul territory for the catcher. New pitcher, 1 pitch and an out. Let's check in with Joe Goldberg.
Hey guys, how about Brad Thompson? He grew up in Las Vegas, but this is his first ever trip in the major leagues. Not Cincinnati, not Milwaukee, it's New York. He said he never went down to the Strip too much in Vegas, so he couldn't believe how incredible things were here in New York. Some of the bullpen guys took him out, took care of him. We were talking about this yesterday. Then he looked at me and he said, I got to get to a pitcher's meeting. He was 7 minutes early, just like a good rookie.
Brad Thompson, good work in the, thank you, Joel, in the 6th. And he'll be pinch hit for with Scott Seabold here against Bell. What was your first major league road trip, you remember? Signed as a non-drafted free agent back in 1998. Saw a little bit of action last year with the Mets, his first in the big leagues, 17 games and 24 innings. Gone from Matt Morris to Barry Weinberg with the baseball. The first ever hit for Scott Seabold.
Not that I didn't trust Matt, but I think it's in better hands now.
Want to know the count on Eckstein.
Bell, 6'3", 225, 27 years of age. And looks like one of those old-fashioned heavy-legged pitchers.
There goes the runner, and the pitch is fouled back.
There's a little jump in his motion, bit of deception.
A heavy-legged pitcher is what you said.
Yeah, you know, thick in the legs, and where you get a lot of velocity. 3 trunks.
A guy that knows a thing or two about that is working on the Mets broadcast, Tom Seaver.
That's what I was thinking of.
He lives in California, owns a winery and yet flies to New York to do some games.
St. Helena. Just outside, there's Tom Terrific, just outside of Nampa. And we'll think this is the year where they'll start producing that first crop. Some of Napa's finest, Napa Valley finest. And I'm on the list.
2-1 pitch. 2-2.
.41. Well, you really couldn't appreciate how good he was until he got into it, Gene. Got a couple guys on, and then, you know, because pitchers pitch to contact. Even though he was a big strikeout artist, guys wanted, you know, hitters to get themselves out early in the count. And if you got 2 strikes, he'd put you away. But if he had a couple guys on base, then his velocity was that much greater. The sharpness to his breaking ball.
Another good at bat here by David Eckstein, taking the pitch up and in. Runs the count full to 3-2.
So that's why I was saying that, you know, they're bragging about him taking over 4 pitches per at bat. It seems like to me it's usually 5 or 6.
Seabold is running, and the pitch is grounded to short. Can they turn 2? Out at second, out at first. What a double play. Time to stretch. And the top of the 7th, and Scott Seabold running from first to second. Did they get him here?
Well, they get him there, but look at a hard slide, late slide, and the collapse there, and then David Eckstein jumping for the bag. Kind of 2 no-nos. Going over the bag a little bit, you can break an ankle that way. Here you can roll an ankle as you jump for the bag. A lot of times you'll hit the one part. Remember, Molina earlier this, I guess over the weekend, rolled his ankle over, kind of jumping for the bag. But Ray King will come in, 3rd pitcher used by the Cardinals today.
Terrific double play turned by Matsui on the turn at second. If you'd like to win Cardinals tickets and participate in the Southwest Airlines Family of the Game promotion during the Cardinals home game, here's your chance. Send your name, address, and phone number to Southwest Airlines Family of the Game. P.O. Box 771192, St. Louis, Missouri 63177. Good luck from Southwest Airlines. We had the singing of God Bless America as in the midst of our 7th inning stretch, and Ray King will take over in the bottom of the 7th. And again, today's broadcast is on AFN, the American Forces Network. And to all the guys and gals that protect us, we say thank you. We hope you're enjoying our broadcast wherever you might be. Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, Japan, and even Antarctica. Our thanks to our troops. Cardinal fans, don't miss a minute of the action with Game Day Audio. Listen to Cardinals games live right from your computer. You can sign up for Game Day Audio exclusively at stlcardinals.com for Game Day Audio and everything baseball. Log on to stlcardinals.com.
Well, Ray King got about the last 3 or 4 days off, and he needed it. His arm was barking a little bit. He hasn't thrown since Tuesday. And you see in Summons twice this past week and thrown a total of 28 pitches, so well rested. But there was a couple days there where he was not going to be available, and talked to him yesterday, and he said his arm has responded, feels good right now.
Get well wishes to Ken the Hawk Harrelson, the White Sox broadcaster, who had some eye surgery, and he's doing the games with a patch with the White Sox logo on the patch. The Hawk, Al.
Oh, the Hawk. Hawk didn't always see eye to eye with Tony. He is an interesting character. Hawk tried to.
He's a character.
He tried to be a professional golfer for one point in his playing career. And he found out they don't have guaranteed contracts in golf.
The Hawk Ken Harrelson. He's gone from general manager to play-by-play.
Ken Wilson's gone from play-by-play to governor. As Ronald Reagan went to became
the line
president,
of the afternoon.
He became president.
No balls and 2 strikes on Floyd. And when you put it that way, the Hawk, that was nothing.
Yeah. The Armed Forces Radio may not have gotten the significance of that, Ken Wilson. But I know you did.
Oh, sure. Floyd, Cameron, and Wright here in the bottom of the 7th. That pitch misses upstairs from Ray King.
He's been very effective throughout his career, retiring left-handed batters. This season he's been able to have a consistent fastball, but his breaking ball, his slider, has been very inconsistent.
Floyd today is 0 for 3, held in check after his 2 home run performance last night.
Left-handed batters have been held to a .217 average this season with no home runs. And last year he was about 150. So he had 32 holds, ranked second in the National League.
He gone. That's what the Hawk would say. One of your favorites, Al. That's out number 1 for Ray King and the Cardinals here in the 7th.
And that's it. As Ray gets the breaking ball. And good location right there, so he gets his only man. And another call to the bullpen. Looks like Julian.
After King, the 3rd pitcher used. Cardinals will go with a right-hander out of the bullpen. Looks like Julian Tavares, and it is 6-5 Mets here in the 7th. A production of Bud Sports and an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. One out here in the bottom of the 7th, and Julian Tavares will take over for the Cardinals, who have used Mark Mulder, who lasted 5 innings, Brad Thompson, an inning of work, Ray King, a 1/3 of an inning, and the Cardinals turn it over to Julian. The reason that we're not showing those warm-up tosses from Julian Tavares is because one of New York's finest is blocking our shot. Now we'll go right into Julian. Right on cue. Get out of the way. We go right into Julian Tavares.
Julian hasn't pitched since Wednesday as he is appearing for the 17th time. That opponent batting average, the ERA, has dramatically been declining of late as he's been credited with a holder save in 8 of his last 10 appearances. A great season last year, career low 2.38 ERA, appearing in most games, 77 since 1997.
And here is Mike Cameron. This bullpen trying to keep it a 1-run lead for New York. Redbirds in the 8th will have Abraham Nunez, who was homered and walked today. Then Pujols and Jim Edmonds, who has a run scored in a single. Pujols is 0 for 3. Slider misses outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Some talk that Mike Cameron could be on his way out of a Mets uniform, possibly to the Yankees, possibly out west, but it's early, and the Mets have themselves a very good defensive right fielder. And they start play today, only 2.5 games out, and a chance to go to 3 games above 500 if they can hold on today.
I would have to think that they'd have to get a lot in return.
Three and 1 the count.
Somebody they'd like better, or some combination of players, because the Mets, even though they've had high expectations for many years, they're realistic expectations. And they got a nice nucleus of young players and veterans that play the game right.
Ground ball left side taken by Nunez with the 2nd out. That's the first time that Cameron has been off the bases today. He's 2 for 2 with a walk, and now grounds out to third. And it brings in David Wright. He's 2 for 3. The bottom of the order has done some damage here for the Mets. Not so much 1 through 4, but after that, 5, 6, and 7 in their lineup. And then the big blow out of the number 8 man, Kaz Matsui, with the bases loaded. The RBI triple off of Mark Mulder in the 6th.
Get this one-run game, you always got a shot. Probably have to do it against Hernandez and then Looper.
Ground ball past David Eckstein and into center field.
Be one of David Wright's better games in his young career.
3-hit day for the Mets third baseman. Take a look at the in-game box score, and that's what we're talking about. Pick it up with Mike Cameron, and you see that's where a lot of the damage done.
And in that area, those guys have done an awful lot. And that's an area where you like to think that you can control the batting average, and control your game, find your outs down there. But they've all hit well, including Castro.
Walked and scored the 6th, RBI single in the 4th, and a single in the 2nd. Mark Mulder, 5 innings pitched, as he did pitch into the 6th, but that's when he ran into all kinds of problems. 10 hits allowed, 6 runs. He walked 2 and he struck out 3. Brad Thompson came in and did a good job.
Castro had about a 9-pitch at bat, 9 or 10 pitches before he walked ahead of the Matsui bases clearing triple.
Looking ahead to the 8th, you might think that Roberto Hernandez would be the guy, but no one's throwing in the bullpen for the Mets right now.
If I'm not mistaken, he was up earlier and now is probably making his way into the dugout. Randolph used that combination of Hernandez in the 8th inning last night and Looper in the 9th to close it out.
Runner is going, a chance for Diaz, throw to second, and they got him. Good tag by Grudzielanek. And David Wright is gunned down. Caught stealing to end the 7th. Due up for the Cardinals. Coming up in the 8th, it's Nunez, who has already homered, followed by Pujols, and then Jim Edmonds. Part of the order coming up. Outside look at Shea Stadium on a gorgeous afternoon for baseball here in New York. Alongside of Al Rabosky and Joe Goldberg, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Roberto Hernandez will come in, hard-throwing right-hander for the Mets, and he has been terrific so far. A record of 2-0, ERA, look at that, 1.04, and opponents only hitting 169 against him.
One save this year, 321 in his career. And this is his 842nd game. It's the most in baseball history among pitchers from Puerto Rico.
First pitch to Nunez is a ball outside. The velocity is there and makes sense. The Mets are saying that his pitches are down in the zone, and that's why he's had so much success as opposed to the last couple of years with pitches up. It's 2-0.
He's only been scored upon in one game, and this is the 11th appearance in his career against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have never scored a run against.
2-1 the count on Nunez. It was last night in the 8th inning after an error by Matsui. Allowed runners at first and second, nobody out, and Hernandez came in. 3-1. He got Edmonds to strike out after falling behind 2-0. Then Mabry was a pinch hitter. He got him to ground out, and then got David Eckstein to ground out, and that was it. Looper took over in the 9th, and the Mets held on for the win. 3-2 the count on Nunez. Love to see a runner getting on in front of Albert Pujols, who's on deck.
Make a game of it. Play hard for 27 outs.
Ball 4 to Nunez, so leadoff walk.
Who As you said, it was a pinch hitting role in last night's ball game when Hernandez struck him out. A little different weather. Last night, very cool, windy. Gorgeous day today.
It's been a while since we have seen Jimmy go deep. You have to go back to that series at Cincinnati and that come from behind win on that Monday night against Danny Graves when Jim hit the 3-run home run. That one is down the left field line, and this game is tied on a fair ball. And it looks like it was touched by a fan. No, they're saying it was not. So an RBI double for Edmonds as the fan did not touch it. And now runners in scoring position for John Mabry. It's 6-6. Way to go, Jim Edmonds.
Could not have placed this ball any better. Out there, so two consecutive hits that look like line drives tomorrow, but anything but. See Bob Davidson, third base umpire, signaling that right off the end of the bat that no fan interference. And with nobody out, Albert not going to run into an out, and John Mabry has a chance to be the hero.
Mabry puts it in play, hits it to short. Infield was drawn in, and that's out number 1. But it brings in Mark Grudzielanek, and what a day Mark has had, Al, with a 2-run home run and 4 RBIs.
Grudzielanek, in Cardinal victories, he normally has days like this. When Cardinals lose, he really usually doesn't do too much offensively. His average is .381 in the team's 22 wins.
And it's ball 1 to the Cardinals second baseman.
He's got 4 RBIs on the day. Swing him around to the opposite field. Big gap in left center.
1 ball, 1 strike. Runner at second base, Jim Edmonds. Albert Pujols represents the go-ahead run at third.
Usually a gap hitter.
Twice today the Cardinals had leads of 3 runs. Roberto Hernandez came in and walked the first man he saw, Nunez, on a borderline pitch. Then Pujols just stuck the bat out, picked up a bloop hit. Edmonds stuck the bat out, fair by less than a foot.
Walked that first man late in the ball game. 1-run game, you're in trouble.
The 2-1 defensive swing there by Grudzielanek.
He kind of strides into a lot of pitches, and that ball was up and in. And did a nice job to get the bat on it instead of eating it.
Hernandez trying to pitch out of trouble here at Shea. The 2-2 pitch. Grudzielanek spoils it.
Times you look at him and you think he's a bad ball hitter. So he can take pitches. A lot of guys would swing through that one up and in, and he can at least get wood on it.
The 2-2. Full count on Grudzielanek with Taguchi on deck. Biggest pitch of the ball game may be this one right here.
Probably let the fans tell us the results.
And it's ball 4 and a chance for Sho Taguchi. The second walk in the inning by Hernandez. Cardinals do have Larry Walker on the bench, and they're going to use him right here. Tough spot, though, for the 38-year-old outfielder of the St. Louis Cardinals, sitting on that bench and then coming in and facing a hard-throwing right-hander like Roberto Hernandez, who was hitting 96 on our gun last night.
He's 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter this year with 1 RBI. Larry, a 3-time batting champion. He's got the bases loaded out there, but as you say, a lot of times you think pump fastballs against him, but he knows all the tricks of the trade.
40,921 in attendance today. Paid attendance here at Shea Stadium. A chance for Larry Walker to put the Cardinals back on top. And the first pitch is strike. It's one of the hardest things to do in baseball. Come off the bench as a pinch hitter.
So much of it's just a mental attitude. You got to go up there knowing that you have one shot. You look for a pitch that's in zone, swing.
Larry Walker, high fly ball into left. Plenty of deep to score Pujols. And the Cardinals have the lead again. The sacrifice fly by Larry Walker. He does the job, and the Cardinals lead it 7-6.
All you have to do is hit a 300-plus fly ball. That'll get that runner home.
The catcher, Einar Diaz.
And Izzy, instead of what Tony probably was hoping for, would be a pressure-free first time out of the chute coming off the disabled list. Looks like he's going to be in a pressure-packed situation, but I think he'd rather have it. And
Larry Walker fans
from his hometown.
Maple Ridge, Canada, British Columbia. Diaz is 0 for 3. Jason Isringhausen was activated prior to the game last night.
And I saw Flores.
He's throwing right now. Getting loose in the Cardinal bullpen. Pitch inside to Diaz. 2 balls and 1 strike. Mets will have Castro and then a switch hitting Matsui. And the pitcher spot will be up. They do have Mike Piazza lurking in that dugout as a pinch hitter.
They also have Marlon Anderson, who is hitting .500 with 10 pinch hits already.
2-2 the count. Cardinals have played at 2 here in the top of the 8th to regain the lead at 7-6. Runners at first and second. And now Hernandez goes 3-2. He has already walked 2 in this inning. He's allowed a pair of hits and the sacrifice fly by Walker to give the Cardinals a lead.
Big no-no. 2 outs, run that count full so the runners can take off. Base hit, Edmonds scores, and maybe even Grudzielanek.
Outfield is straight away for Einar Diaz.
Pretty kind of back on their heels, too.
Next pitch to him. And Diaz pops it up out in front. Behind home plate. It'll be taken there by Castro. Cardinals strand 2, but they play 2. And they lead it 7-6.
Brought to you by Bank of America, the official bank of baseball. Big day for Grudzielanek. He has 4 RBIs on the day. Tried to stretch a single into a double, but the big blow for the Mets has been Matsui. Bases clearing triple that knocked out Mulder. Cardinals have battled back. Full starters are no longer the pitchers of record. And Tavares, who got the final 2 outs in the 7th inning, will try and take over here in the 8th. Set up that save situation for the 9th for Izzy.
That would be nice to see as Castro looks at a ball. That's how we start the bottom of the 8th. The Cardinals with a lead of 7-6. At one point they led it 3-0. They led it 5-2. Mets eventually tied it up, took the lead, and now the Cardinals have regained it 7-6. 0-1 pitch to Castro. He's taken for a ball outside, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Been a while since we've seen Jason Isringhausen, now available for St. Louis in that 9th inning, if not before. Good pitch, 1-2. That's a nasty, nasty slider right there.
I would think that you would love to see Tavares be the only pitcher used here in the 8th inning. And there you see the side arming, breaking balling, slider coming out there from Laredo. maybe you would use Flores to get a left-handed hitter if it gets down to a pinch hitting appearance.
The 1-2. 2-2.
You don't try and get a combination of base runners to where you need Izzy in the ninth, or excuse me, in the eighth, and you have to have a multiple inning save.
That may spin fair, and it does. Tavares, with all the English on that off the end of the bat, it spun back into fair territory, and he took it and tagged out Castro for the first out here in the bottom of the eighth.
Good play.
See that coming.
Yep, didn't take anything for granted. Look at that.
The second baseman, Kazuo Matsui.
Chalk on that cue stick there. That almost took a 90-degree turn into foul territory and then a 90-degree turn back into fair.
Either way, it's an out. Tavares was surprised by it, so was Pujols, and they eventually saw it was going to spin back fair, and they got it and pounced on it. Here's Matsui, had the big RBI triple with the bases loaded that knocked Mulder out of the game. Then Brad Thompson came on. We've seen Ray King, and Tavares has pitched an inning thus far. Matsui, the switch hitter.
Marlon Anderson is swinging a bat in the on-deck circle. Matsui is a switch hitter. There you see Marlon, who was batting .500. Now he's 10 for 21 as a pinch hitter.
One out, nobody on. The first pitch from Tavares to Matsui. Cardinals, with a win today, would be back to 10 games above the 500 mark. One ball, one strike is Matsui. Showed bunt.
This is the only game in the National League be playing during the day. So if you can post that victory, and all your competition knows they have to win to stay pace, always puts pressure on them.
1-2 the count. Cardinals started today in the Central Division with a 3.5 game lead over Milwaukee. Could be 4 very shortly.
Cubbies playing a little better. They've won 3 in a row.
They've got Washington tonight, Cincinnati and Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, San Francisco and Houston, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, San Diego, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. There's a 2-2 pitch. Grounded to third. Nunez stays down on it. Some boos again for Matsui. Tomorrow it's the world's best players, and they'll once again gather to finally answer the question, who is the greatest poker player in the world? Find out on the Poker Superstars 2 tomorrow at 8 on MSN Midwest. Marlon Anderson has been introduced as the pinch hitter. Former teammates here with Tavares and Marlon. They've already used Diaz off the bench, and he picked up an RBI single. That was off of Brad Thompson back in the 6th. How about Thompson coming in? And again, throwing strikes.
Just like the way he does it. Nothing phases him.
Pitched very well once again. Will Marlon see a fastball in this at bat? We talked about the situation last night with Marlon Anderson. The fact that early in the count with fastballs, he goes hacking. You know, they've gone over that, Dave Duncan and Julian Tavares. Two 2-0 the count.
He's already has 10 pinch hits. And last year for the Mets, Eric Valent led the team in pinch hits with 10. So very good start for Marlon. He was very helpful last season for the Cardinals, winning a couple games for them, late innings with home runs.
2-0 pitch. Jose Reyes waiting on deck. Let's see if Tavares can battle back here with 3 balls and no strikes. Three and 1.
Dan, I've heard more conversations of pitchers this year having success, like in a situation like this, just throwing a BP fastball.
Let him hit it is what you're saying.
Just let it hit it, but they're geared for something more. They think they're going to get your 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball. You throw the 81, and they're way out in front.
Works as a changeup.
Changeup, but it's like even a little harder than the changeup. It just fools them.
Tavares gets the call on the outside corner as Marlin didn't like it. Hernandez, 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 runs. As Marlon Anderson is the pinch hitter for Roberto Hernandez. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Marlon. Tavares finally set. And another 3-2 pitch.
An hour in the last delivery. Got the fastball there. Tavares very good at keeping the ball in the ballpark also.
Full count delivery here from Julian Tavares. And he got him. A strikeout of Marlon Anderson. Tavares, great work out of the bullpen. As the Mets go 1-2-3 in their half of the 8th, we move to the 9th in St. Louis. Leads it by a run. Mike Dejan was with St. Louis at the end of 2003. This will be his 16th appearance already in the young season. A record of 2-1. ERA is near 6 for Dejan, and the right-hander will face a pinch hitter for the Cardinals. Reggie Sanders will be first up, and then we'll have the top of the order. A long afternoon of baseball.
Your attention, please.
As the Cardinals are trying to hold on.
Number 16, Reggie Sanders.
Leading by a run, 7-6. Cardinals have picked up runs in the 2nd, the 4th, 2 in the 6th, and 2 in the 8th.
Could there have been?
I mean, Al, you and I never, ever mail in a telecast. And I'd hate to say that Doug mailed it in, but the question of name a Met, that's not much research going in there. That's just throwing it out there.
But we bought it.
And we loved it.
Yes.
That's why Doug is
the best.
Period. End of story. Full count on Sanders.
Dejan out there pitching. Willie Randolph is happy the way his team came back and took the lead, but probably not the way it gave it up again.
Swing and a miss, and Sanders strikes out for out number 1 here in the 9th. And let's check in with Pat Paris.
The shortstop, David Eckstein.
Thanks, guys. Join Trenny and Dan right after the game on the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. They'll have complete post-game coverage, including player reaction from the Cards clubhouse and a live interview with the star of the game. But now, let's send it back to Dan and Al. Gentlemen?
Here's David Eckstein, 0 for 4 in the afternoon. Hit into a double play. A great turn by Matsui at second base. As the Mets got out of trouble in that 7th inning.
David had his 13-game hitting streak stopped yesterday, and he told me that all the extensive research people do today, they have found out that he is hitless on Friday the 13th. He was thinking that might turn it around, you know, Friday the 13th,
Sure.
13-game hitting streak. But even that did him in.
One pitch from Dejan. Breaking ball and a swing and a miss by Eckstein. 1-2. Mike Dejan with the Cardinals at the end of 2003, like we mentioned. Primarily has spent his time in the big leagues with Milwaukee.
Split time between Baltimore and the Mets last season. 0-5, ERA over 6 with Baltimore, and ERA under 2 with the Mets.
And a base hit into right field for David Eckstein.
Told me he's going to start a new hitting streak, and he has.
Third baseman, Abraham
Good piece of hitting here by David Eckstein just to go with the pitch.
I don't know how many times you see the spin of the breaking ball and just going with the pitch. How many times you see a little guy thinks he's a big guy and get down on the knob of the bat and always swinging for the fences. It's a pleasure to watch David, who understands he's got to play a little ball and does it very well.
Now it's Nunez, a switch hitter for St. Louis. Email from Mrs. Stanton. Doug's mom is watching in Williamsburg, Virginia. That's where she lives. Proud of her son, of course, who's with us here in New York. We want to thank the Armed Forces Network for carrying our ball game today as well. Had emails from all over the place. Our servicemen and women across the country and, of course, across the world. Nunez has a home run today, 4 on the year now.
Anything from Sigonella?
Did not get one. Hit to short. Can they turn 2? Not with Nunez running. So they get the second out at second base. And it extends the inning to Albert Pujols. One more run sure would be nice.
They do. Nice job, not as fluid in turning that one from the second baseman. And Nunez, the switch hitter batting left-handed, was the difference, that step closer.
Matsui takes it with his momentum going towards short. That's a tough way to turn that double play. Pujols takes a breaking ball for a strike.
John, I'm sure, is very happy to get to face Albert. Instead to throw that ground ball to get 2, you don't see Albert.
Mets have the top of their order coming up in the ninth. The bottom half with Jose Reyes and Cairo and Beltran. Again, they have Mankiewicz along with Piazza on the bench. No balls, 2 strikes on Pujols, who's 1 for 4. And time is called. Good work by the Cardinal bullpen today. Keep the game close, and then eventually St. Louis took the lead against Roberto Hernandez.
Getting Izzy back, as you talked about, settles the rules down there. They also know that they put up zeros, give the opportunity to the offense. They'll, more times than not, will come back and make a game of it.
0-2 pitch. Bounced in the dirt. Albert came in the top 10 in batting average in the National League at .331. Looking for his 10th home run. And trying to pick up RBI number 30 as a run scored in a single today. Swing and a miss by Pujols. And we head to the bottom of the ninth. Jason Isringhausen, the former Met, now the closer for the Cardinals, will come in and face the top of the order. Time that we saw Jason Isringhausen, that was at home against Milwaukee. He's just been activated from the 15-day disabled list. Cardinals went 9-7 in his absence, but boy, isn't it nice to have him back at the end.
Very nice, and of course Tony would like to have a little easier time for his first save, but as a closer, I think you would prefer to come in this situation. This is what you normally do, and until you save a one-run ball game, you're still out there trying to figure out if you're 100% back. Had that oblique muscle strain. It was on the right side, which is unusual. Normally, if you're going to pull that muscle, it's going to be on the opposite side of your throwing arm. So it's a quicker recovery time, and Jason wanted to be activated on Thursday, and Tony and Dave Duncan wanted him to throw to some hitters that afternoon. And he passed that test and was activated yesterday, not needed. And here he is, trying to pick his 7th save.
Top of the order, Reyes. And ball one. It all started here for Jason Isringhausen as a starter for the Mets. Isringhausen, Paul Wilson, Bill Pulsifer, now with St. Louis. The trio that was going to lead them to a World Series championship, and it didn't happen.
Interesting, where prior to the injury, it was so much cutters and curveballs. He starts out here with 2 fastballs.
Third baseman Nunez in on the grass, the 2-0 pitch. Reyes with that great speed. He's the last guy you want to see on base.
Molina catching.
And the 3-0 pitch.
It's funny, but sometimes you get that first strike and you say, okay, that's it. Now it's over.
Full count. Jason said he felt pretty much 100% about a week after the injury.
Right, and if you are the confident reliever that Jason is, and here's going with his bread and butter, the cutter.
A leadoff walk.
Interesting there, because Reyes looked like he didn't want to swing the bat, and Izzy made sure he didn't have to.
And we saw yesterday with Reyes on that Yadier Molina gunned him down in the first inning of the ball game last night. Now it's Cairo, a very good sacrifice man, a very good bunter we saw in his days with the Cardinals. And a sacrifice situation here.
That puts a lot of pressure on the defense. What is he going to do? Izzy, like a lot of closer, is slow to the plate. So this is the mind games where Tony La Russa gives that signal from the bench. Do you hold the ball, try to see if the base runner will give away his intentions, or the batter showing that he will bunt to take the life and spring out of the legs of the base stealer.
He squares, gets the bunt down. Isringhausen off the mound, just flips to Pujols. Tying run at second. And the batter will be Carlos Beltran. Sacrifice good, 1-3.
The center fielder, Carlos Beltran.
The Mets fans, the faithful here, 40,921 coming alive at Shea Stadium.
Beltran 1 for 4 in the day. Infield single back in the 3rd inning. Any base hit with Reyes' speed is just almost guaranteed that he would score.
Eckstein trying to keep him somewhat close at second. First pitch to Beltran, cold foul.
Took out part of his own bench. Stay on their feet. You see how Eckstein's shadowing Reyes, trying to keep him close, but at some point he's got to retreat and get into defensive position.
No balls and a strike on Beltran. The curveball is lifted into deep left field. That'll stay in the ballpark. Mabry there. Gets it back in quickly. And there's 2 outs. And the batter will be Cliff Floyd.
That cutter that Izzy throws is a very effective pitch coming in on the right of the left-handed hitters. Dave Duncan will go out and give a little scouting report.
We've talked about Cliff Floyd. What's he been doing here at Shea Stadium? Well, he's been putting up huge numbers.
4+.
Yeah.
439 batting average coming in this afternoon. He is a dead low ball hitter. Hit 2 home runs off of Jason Marquis, about the only 2 mistakes he made. But if you get that cutter, you elevate it above his hands, tie him up, it's very effective.
Tony La Russa trying to get somebody's attention out there.
They're going to intentionally walk him and bring up Cameron, a right-hand batter.
Does that surprise you at all with Floyd, the way that he's been swinging? Because that's the lead run you're putting on base.
I think when you have the victory total of Tony La Russa, who will end up after this year 3rd most victories in all of baseball, you do things that you think makes your ball club win. 2 for 10 with 5 strikeouts. That was Cameron. So,
but it is an odd move when you winning run on.
I have no problem with it. It's what it all boils down to is you have confidence in your pitcher to get the job done.
Take a look at this afternoon's play of the game, brought to you by Bud Light. We're going to show you a Met with a great play. This is Mike Cameron taking a hit away from Einar Diaz. A lunging play, and your Bud Light play of the game. Former center fielder playing right now for the Mets, your Bud Light play of the game, and here's Mike Cameron at the plate. 2 outs, 2 runners on. The Mets down to their final out.
I think managers would want to do this more frequently, but they don't have the confidence that if it goes bad, that they can recover, that they can handle the media pressure.
First pitch, the cutter, and a strike. Cameron is 2 for 3 with a double, a walk, a single, 2 runs scored.
I had a situation one time with first base open, and Red Cheney's wanted me to walk Dave Kingman and pitch to Ed Kranepool, left-handed, lefty against lefty. I told him, I said, I'll do whatever you want, but I would prefer to face the right-handed batter Kingman than the lefty Kranepool.
Curveball of beauty from Izzy.
That curveball is come not out of mothballs, but he's brought it out a lot more this season, and it has been a wonderfully effective pitch for him.
He's in the driver's seat now, 0-2, and a strike away from a Cardinal win, and back to 10 games above the 500 mark. Here it is, the 0-2 pitch. Another curveball.
Saw Molina kind of set up inside to give that. Hopefully the batter would feel the pressure of him in there, thinking it's going to be a fastball, and then at the last second he slides outside for that breaking ball. Have him conscious of inside and get him out on a pitch away, and a good 0-2 pitch off the plate, try to get him to expand the zone.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The next from Izzy. He got him, and the Cardinals win it. Save number 8 for Jason Isringhausen. The Cardinals pour out of that dugout and onto the field. Hard-fought win, 7-6 over the Mets. The strikeout to break.